Yeehaw, giddy up, partners. I got my PNG of a cowboy and farmer's hat, and we're going to be talking about the cow movie today, Barnyard. Chrissy, get out here.
No,
Chrissy, what are you doing?
I don't want to do this episode.
Why?
You'll make fun of me.
Make fun for what?
The cow scares me.
What do you mean the cow scares you?
Look at him! His smug aura mocks me. Hello everyone, welcome to Cinema Gremlins, where two gremlins get out from under the bridge to talk about movies. So, today, this is a movie that Michael wanted to do.
Probably, I don't know where this movie stands. Honestly, with the public perception, I really don't know where this movie stands.
I feel like this movie is kind of like, well, the other movie from the studio, being Jimmy Neutron Boy Genius, and also
did they not do Ant Bully?
They did Ant Bully, but I'm talking about like this one and Jimmy, and some people would argue like Osmosis Jones and stuff. Things that are more remembered for the television shows that came afterwards than the original movie themselves.
The movie, well, I say I don't know where this movie stands with the public opinion, because this movie's kind of one of those like big meme movies.
The specific part that's memed is Otis twerking behind the mailman.
That, and I've seen a couple other scenes that have been memed, images, things like that. But yeah, like it's one of those things where I really
the Sam Elliott cover of "Don't Back Down"
or Mr. Boombastic.
Yes, Biggie Cheese. We respect Biggie Cheese.
In this house, we respect Biggie Cheese. Rest in peace.
Rest in peace. But you know,
I don't know if people actually have grown on this movie over the years or
it's grown
not.
On me, I could say so. There is like elements of it where it's like, man, if you didn't look the way you do, I think people would respect this movie more.
I mean, I guess we should probably jump into it before we go full.
Yes, we've said our vague thesis statements. Now let's get into the full thing. So, what is Barnyard? The original party animals.
I forget that it has the subtitle. Yes. Like, technically the movie is not Barnyard, it is Barnyard, the original party animals.
Yeah. But what is it? Basically, you have the cow here, Otis, who is played by Kevin James in the original movie?
Yes, it's Kevin James in the movie, Chris Hardwick in the show, which is such a contrast in talent.
Yeah, it's such a... You go from Kevin James to the host of The Soup. So, like, you know, it's just...
like, the nerdist guy. Like, it's just such a weird
It's a weird
thing.
Choice. But yeah, you have trans icon Otis the cow. Oh yeah, that's one thing to just point out. Every cow has an udder, including the dudes.
And it is as I don't remember if it was Steve. I think Steve Odekirk might have been the one to say this. Steve, if you're listening, you can correct me if I'm wrong.
Steve, come on our show. Be a gremlin.
Please, Steve. I would love to talk to you, Steve.
We'll draw a little gremlin head of you like this. It will be a delightful time. We'll talk about Jimmy Neutron. Like,
unironically, I would love to talk to Steve Odekirk.
I love Steve Odenkirk. He's amazing. Do you know how many Thumb Wars movies that I watch? They're great.
I own all the Thumb movies on DVD. I love those fucking movies.
We should do it. We should do a Gremlins about the Thumb movies.
Oh yeah, maybe not the God Thumb. That's like the only one I don't really care for.
Maybe not, but like Steve Odenkirk, if somehow you're watching, or Mark DiCarlo, I'll take either or.
I will take either one.
Come on our show and be a gremlin with us. We'd love to have you on.
I remember I found like Steve Odekirk's email, and I found out apparently it's an outdated email, and it made me sad because I really wanted him on my podcast.
But yeah, so you have Otis the cow. You were saying that Steve Odekirk said something about Otis the cow and the udders.
Oh, the reason all the cows have udders is because they thought it was funny.
You know,
that's literally the only reason that the cows have udders, that all of them do.
Otis the cow lives on this barnyard who has an old farmer, and when the farmer's away, the animals go to play. And, you know, he has his friends like Sheen Estevez Rat, and and then the pig and the chicken, and is it a mongoose? Is that
It's a ferret.
That's a ferret?
Yeah, he's supposed to be a ferret, but he's fucking huge.
In
like
what
he's
universe
like
does a ferret look
he's
like
like
that?
3 feet tall.
Okay, like hold on, let me move my head for a bit. That's supposed to be a ferret?
Oh, do you have the image?
No, well, it's on screen. I had to move my head for the movie poster because he's on the movie poster.
Oh, yeah, he's supposed to be a ferret,
He looks more like a mongoose or something.
Yeah, well, and also he has this thing where he wants to eat, like, he's basically obsessed with eating chicken, but his best friend is a chicken.
It's a very toxic relationship.
It is a very toxic
relationship. And let me tell you, there are quite a few episodes of the TV show that has this plot line of him.
Freddy is kind of a piece of shit in this movie. Like Freddy's a fucking manipulator.
Besides these characters, you also have a cow played by Wanda Sykes, and a cow that's
only in the movie.
Yeah, who's pregnant.
Played by Courtney Cox of Friends and Scream.
Yes, and then Otis's dad, who's played by Sam Elliott.
Sam fucking Elliott. And also a mule played by Danny Glover for some reason.
Because why not? You know?
I don't...
A lot of this movie, like the first act, which is like a good, 20 minutes of this movie.
Something like that,
It's just them putzing around the farm.
The plot doesn't really kick in until about 30 minutes in.
But let me tell you, the emotional whiplash in this movie.
Oh, no. Okay, so I need to take
over this part.
I need to talk about this. So this is something that frustrates me about this movie. So I overall think this movie is okay. Like I'm gonna surmise my thoughts up front very quick. I think this movie is okay. My biggest issue with this movie is that there's a really good emotional family film in here. It's just, there's another movie fighting with it constantly.
You know what? I'm going to go back to my Osmosis Jones thing that I was saying earlier. It feels like but I know this isn't the case with this movie, like Osmosis Jones. It feels like two scripts got mooshed together, or two different directors did two different parts. I don't know.
The weird thing is that Odenkirk directed and wrote this.
So Odenkirk and Odenkirk Hyde made this movie.
Because it's I don't know if there was maybe 10-15 minutes cut. I don't know if which I mean, it'd be really weird because it's I guess that would make sense because I think it's only an hour 20.
Yeah,
it's a pretty short movie.
Let me pull up the wiki for it so that way we can get some facts. But yeah, because the movie flip-flops between being an Animal House but with animals and
a very bizarrely heartfelt movie
about loss and love and everything, and it's
and knowing your place in life and
being content with what you are. It's very weird because let me paint a picture for y'all with this cow. So the movie is basically, all the barnyard animals are acting like animals, and then the farmer leaves. It's we're at the clear, and they all start going on their 2 front legs and 2 back legs, and they're having fun. They steal a car, drinking their own milk, which is okay,
questionable.
They swim in the lake, they bully children, all fun stuff, and then you have this beautiful moment with Sam Elliott dad and Kevin James cow, where they're looking up in the stars and everything and talking about when Otis was born and all this stuff, and it's wow, so sweet. Then Mr. Bombastic.
Yes! No, that is the perfect sum up to the weird infighting that these two these two types of movies are constantly fighting throughout the film. Because
Yeah.
it's like I said, this could be a very good, like, emotional family comedy, but I actually wrote this in my notes when I was writing it. I'm like, signs of a good emotional comedy, but it's being handicapped by wanting to be a pop culture comedy.
Yeah, and it's crazy because like Otis, in the small time that they did have together on screen, Otis and Ben, that's Sam Elliott's character,
Ben.
actually has like a really sincere, sweet father-son relation. Because Otis is adopted from Ben. There's actually like in that heartfelt moment that I was talking about, he's like, "When I found you as a calf, the stars danced."
I swear I saw the stars dance. Like,
And it's
that's
like,
the,
if
yeah.
you took that audio and put it to any other thing, that's beautiful. And then you look at it and you see two cows. But yeah, the animals party, there's Mr. Boombastic, and then we finally get to the conflict.
Played by Biggie Cheese, rest in peace.
Rest in peace, Biggie Cheese. Pour one out. Is they mention it briefly that, one of the cows' responsibilities, which is such a weird thing to make the cows
Why the
responsible,
cow
and
has
not
to
the
be
dog,
the one
who's a character in the movie. Is supposed to protect the chicken coop.
Not even just that. They even mention that the dog should be in charge like 2 times. And when Otis leaves near the end for the climax, he literally says, "Hey, I'm going to put the dog in charge." Like,
yeah, like it's a very Shaun the Sheep-esque thing, but not as clever, where it's like, oh, the dog is supposed to be in charge, but they don't listen to him. But it's like, yeah, so it's the cow's responsibility to watch the chicken coop because coyotes are gonna come and try to eat the chickens. Why the rest of the chickens aren't just partying with the rest of the animals, I don't fucking know. But then, while Biggie Cheese is going all boombastic and everything, and they're getting drunk off their own milk, Ben is in the chicken coop, and he does the most badass thing in an animated
holy
film.
shit. Holy shit.
Go,
Actually,
no, describe this one.
Before we get to that, I gotta talk about the villain.
Oh, Dag?
The villain's too good for this movie.
Oh, yeah, played by, what is
David
his name?
Koechner.
Yeah, Todd from The Office, right?
And the fucking, I forget his name,
Champ.
the dumb sportscaster from Anchorman.
Champ Kind.
Yeah.
Anchorman.
Fucking unrecognizable with his voice. Like, that fucker's...
talk about an actor who just melts into his role.
No, it's amazing how good a show of vocal range that performance is. Like, you can barely tell it's him.
Oh yeah,
I don't know if they pitched it a teeny bit, but like, it's like amazing how good he is in that role.
It's sad. He doesn't, I mean, he's in a lot of movies, but he's it's a character actor curse where, you play those it's like character actress Margot Martindale, you're known for your characters, not for you.
Yeah. It's probably one of the most, if I would actually argue that might be the most unique role he's ever played in a movie.
Are you saying that his role as Phil in Pete Davidson's Marmaduke is not a unique role?
I think it's also when he does voiceover, he kind of plays the same character. He plays the nice office guy, or he plays like the big dumb guy. That's like his 2 roles.
The only other one that I could be like, is that I'm pretty sure he's the principal in the episodes of Regular Show where Rigby goes back to get his GED.
I, for some reason, thought he was the principal in Max Keeble's Big Move, but I forgot that
him and
that...
Have we talked about Max Keeble's Big Move on the show?
I've never seen it, so
we need to watch it, and we need to talk about it, because I love that movie.
I forget what the guy's name is. I think it's not Larry David. Larry Miller.
My God,
Larry
imagine.
Larry
Miller.
Miller.
From the Larry Miller hair system?
He looks a lot like Larry Miller.
But yeah, anyways, back to Dag. He's a very which I guess is a very
he's a motherfucker. Like,
it is a kind of staple in Odenkirk Productions, because in general, Odenkirk productions are fairly, not family oriented, but they're generally leaning on PG to PG-13. They're not like hard movies, but they usually have that one aspect where it's like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, no, Dag is... Keckner's playing him like a fucking serial killer. Like...
He might as well be like a DC villain with just how he's played, because he's so...
Yeah,
he's
it reminds me...
unhinged.
It reminds me a lot of Starscream in the Bay Transformers movies. Like, a lot like that performance. It's very weirdly unhinged and creepy, and like
it's like yeah,
like enjoys what he does and enjoys fucking with people
to an almost, like, I'm not going to say erotic because this is a kid's movie, but the cayenne tea. Like, it's
yeah.
It's very Lecter-esque. Not in the how he performs it, just how this character feels.
The way he carries himself, it's so weird for a movie like this to have a villain this good, is the other thing. Because it's a thing where he's not in the movie a lot. He's in it, I think, like 3 scenes. He's in the climax. He's in the one scene with Sam Elliott. And he appears later when Otis runs into him.
You want to know the weirdest thing about the Coyotes?
What?
It's the weirdest celebrity cameo ever. So you have David as Dag, right? Then the rest of the Coyotes are fairly feral, and they're provided by Frank Welker, except for one, who is Jane Krakowski.
Wait, really?
Yeah, she's only listed as
she's not
female
credited.
Coyote. Yeah, no, but she's a female Coyote apparently in Barnyard, which is like, why?
Where is she? What? She's not credited in the credits from what I'm seeing.
I'm pretty sure it was uncredited.
Is she the one that does the fucking, there's a mouse in my ear, there's a mouse in my ear? Like,
I'm
is it that
sure,
one?
yes.
That's so fucking weird. Did she have,
right?
Did like David Koechner like call in a favor or something?
Maybe she was just in the studio that day being like, hey guys, just hanging out with my best friends, Kevin James and Danny Glover.
But yeah, no, I gotta talk about the scene with Ben and Dag. So the Coyotes break into the chicken coop, and Sam Elliott's character, Ben, walks in, and they have a standoff. Motherfucker starts playing his banjo, and then the banjo becomes the accompanying score as he beats the shit out of these coyotes. And it's amazing.
And while he's singing like, no, I won't back down till
well, no, they don't have the singing in the fight. They don't have the singing. They just have the instrumental in the fight.
Oh yeah, but there is a version of "Don't Back Down" with that, and I'm pretty sure most millennials and Gen Zers have heard the Sam Elliott version of "I Won't Back Down."
More people in the last like 20 years have probably heard that version more than the actual song.
Yeah, but this scene has no right. I feel like we're gonna say this has no right a lot in this episode. It's just, it has no right to be as badass as it is
for a movie about cows with a movie about male cow udders. Like...
Exactly. But yeah, so when this badass scene is finished, Ben fucking dies.
It's actually surprisingly violent.
Well, yeah, because he dies due to his injuries.
Well, it's not even that. You see, like, all the, like when Scar dies in Lion King, you see, like, all the fucking coyotes, like, fucking jump on him, and you hear the fucking ripping and tearing sounds. Like, it's surprisingly violent how they did it.
Yeah, and then, like, a day after he dies, they're like,
they have a fucking funeral.
They do.
Like,
even the
genuine
farmer is sad.
I'm not even kidding. I was watching it. I'm like, shit. Am I actually getting a little teary eyed at a fucking Sam Elliott cow? I'm dead ass. They handle that funeral and like the recollecting of like Otis when he was a kid. Like they do it shockingly. Again, they do it too well for a movie for this.
And
Like a
yeah, and
movie
then
like this.
they elect Otis as the new leader because son of the previous leader.
And then it immediately jumps back into fucking batshit comedy again.
Yeah,
After
because they
that.
because I think what they do is that the farmer sees that they're all partying and then just hits him over the head.
No, well, what happens is Otis is like wandering off and reminiscing about his dad, and they all start throwing a party with. They all elect him without him being there, which in hindsight is really fucking weird. But they elect him as the leader without him being there because he's gone, and there's this connection with these chicks. Well, more so this one chick, and who is the fucking cutest goddamn thing on the planet. Is this little fucking chick that he's friends with, and also very weirdly heartfelt and emotional. The connection these two have,
Yeah. And
like it's genuinely very sweet. The connection, like Otis and this chick, like this little chick has.
It's what they wanted the connection between Tweety Bird and Michael Jordan in Space Jam to be.
The most emotion Michael Jordan could get out of any of that was, "You all right?"
Michael Jordan in Barnyard. Oh, but like, yeah. So they elect Otis. Otis is just wandering around. The farmer gets knocked unconscious.
Oh my god, the funniest joke in the whole fucking movie is this fucking well, we didn't talk about Wild Mike because Jesus fucking Christ. I want to know the story of Wild Mike.
I feel like Wild Mike here's my tinfoil hat theory.
I want to know the production story of that thing.
My tinfoil hat theory, and this is just my very roundabout way to get Steve Odenkirk to come on here and tell me that it's not true, that they were going to have a marketing tie-in with the Honeycombs mascot. That,
was that mascot
one.
Even still a thing in 2006?
You think Steve Odenkirk would care? But like, imagine if that was the case and they were like, oh, we lost that. Well, I guess we're just gonna make Crazy Mike now.
I want to know desperately what the story behind that thing is, because it's literally out of nowhere. Otis is like, are you guys fucking stupid? The farmer's gonna show up and he's gonna see all this, and then we're all gonna be fucked. And then Freddy, the manipulative ass ferret, comes out of nowhere and says, hey, get Wild Mike. For some reason, Otis can't not dance when Wild Mike dances. Let me explain. So Wild Mike is a mass of hair and human legs and arms, and it's terrifying. And you can also see its face sometimes, and it's also terrifying. And it's just this thing that dances, and it causes everybody to start dancing. And they never explain it, and they even kind of make a joke about it, saying, what the fuck is that thing?
And the thing is, Wild Mike doesn't even have a voice actor. You know that there's a voice somewhere. But, like...
Wait, does it... I swear it makes sounds.
It makes sounds. But you know how they list Frank Welker for providing the coyote sound effects. They list no one for doing the vocal effects for Wild Mike.
I have a very strong feeling it might have been Steve Odenkirk.
It probably was.
Like, I don't know. I have
Mr.
a very
Snotty
strong
Boy,
feeling it was him. Yeah, he voices the fucking...
Ginger.
Arguably, like, one of the most famous scenes in the movie, because they showed that fucking
tipping.
They showed that fucking scene in like all the trailers for that movie.
Even I'm pretty sure even part of the intro to.
I think it's the teaser
show.
for the movie. Is the scene where they fucking do the boy tipping thing, where they push him off the bed.
And I'm pretty sure they have the boy tipping scene in, because there's clips of the movie in the Back to the Barnyard intro. I'm pretty sure boy tipping is there. But yeah, so the point being, they let out the nightmare fuel. The terrible, like, what if Wild Mike was just the studio doing like a hair strand test, and they just made this.
Oh, they just
character.
were like, how can we do? Well, it's weird because there's very few animals in the movie that actually have like hair texture. I think Freddy's like one of the only ones.
Yeah, but it's just kind of. Oh yeah, speaking of stupid decisions,
Oh boy,
Freddy and the chicken.
Peck.
Freddy and
I don't think they ever say his name, but his name is Peck.
Peck and Freddy are left in charge of the chicken coop.
Because nobody, that's also kind of a gag in the show, is that nobody realizes that Freddy is fucking insane and he wants to eat all the chickens.
How did the ferret even get here? Ferrets don't just appear at barns.
Again, I feel like he was supposed to be a mongoose or something, and they just changed it for some reason.
Because I guess Freddy the ferret is just an easier, like, roll off the tongue kind of name.
Well, let's see. Ben the cow, Otis the cow, Miles the mule, Pip the mouse, Peck the rooster, Freddy the ferret. Yeah, like Freddy the mongoose doesn't roll off the tongue. Like,
they could have called him Manny the mongoose. See, I fixed your movie. But,
we fixed every problem with this movie.
Every problem. But yeah, so, they put them in charge of the chicken coop. Then Otis joins a biker gang of cows.
Yeah, well, the Jersey cows. I don't know why, but I was watching the movie.
They're on motorcycles for many of the movie posters.
Well, no, the motorcycle shit doesn't happen, I think, until like the end of the movie.
Oh yeah, because it happened. That's how they get to the coyotes later on.
Yeah, that's how. No. That's how they get home. Because they beat the coyotes and then they end up at a biker bar and then they steal the bikes.
That makes sense. As much sense as Barnyard does.
But yeah, no. So there's these three. Oh yeah, I didn't even mention the fucking joke with Miles the mule. So the farmer fucking catches him dancing. And Danny Glover's character fucking kicks him in the fucking head, and they have to set it up. So, well, he gets up again, and then he kicks him again, and they have to set up that like a tree. I think it's like a tree branch fell on his head or something. And they have him reading a book, and it's Charlotte's Web, and I'm almost 100% certain that was because the fucking movie was coming out, and Nickelodeon also made that.
Probably.
I feel like that's either a massive coincidence or that was 100% on purpose because that movie came out, I think, like the year after.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, so Otis Jones,
he keeps fucking kicking him every time he wakes up, and it is always unprompted. They don't cue that he's gonna do it anytime. It's literally Miles the mule jump scare.
But yeah, while Miles is giving Farmer Buyer severe brain damage, Otis joins the Jersey cows, which they're just troublemakers. That's where the boy tipping scene comes from, because Snotty Boy, which is his nickname, because
his name is literally Snotty Boy.
He's like, that's called cow tipping, ha ha. So I do the boy tipping, but then the police almost come.
And then the police get to go after them.
And we meet the most unhinged character in this movie. She's not there for a long time.
Oh,
which is
God.
The mother of Snotty Boy, or the
it's not.
No, it's her. It's his aunt, right?
Oh, in the show they confirm it's his aunt.
Yeah, it's his aunt. And
Mrs. Beatty,
who has these farm animals, has caused this poor woman.
This woman is developing schizophrenia because of these fucking cows.
There's literally an episode of the TV show where she goes in to get brain surgery because everyone thinks she's fucking insane.
No, her husband, the whole fucking movie, is basically saying she's insane. This poor woman is developing paranoid schizophrenia. These fucking cows' fault.
But this all happens. So all this crazy, nonsensical shit. And then he has a tender, loving moment with the pregnant cow. Daisy, that's her name.
Daisy.
Because she talks about how her, the father of her child she's pregnant with and her herd were wiped out by a storm.
God, again, this scene happens immediately after a police chase with the helicopter, boy tipping, and a crazy woman screaming about cows on television. Meanwhile, the cops are being filmed for the TV show Cops.
Yep.
And then it is immediately followed by a quiet emotional scene of the pregnant cow talking about her dead husband.
And like, I will give this movie this. The third act, there's so many movies, especially ones we've talked about on this show, where the third act drags so much. I would argue this movie has the weird problem that, like, the third act is probably the most balanced act of the movie, because they go right into the whole thing of Dag. They go right back to Dag and the...
Well, yeah, because Dag disappears for pretty much the majority of the film after he first appears.
Yeah, because Dag, in his insane how to spot a murderer tendencies, like, he goes to Otis and is like, hey, you're a terrible leader. This why your daddy dead.
Well, no, what happens is Otis finds him and they overwhelm him, and then Dag is basically like, hey, you're a fucking bitch.
This why your daddy dead. And
he basically, I forget what he says. Isn't it something like, hey, if a couple animal, like, I'm gonna make a deal with you and I won't fucking kill you.
Oh yeah, basically the deal was that, like, he was going to periodically steal animals, or else, and it's either we're going
or
to
he's
steal
gonna or they're gonna kill every animal on the farm.
At once.
Which, I also hear that, I go, okay, a mule, multiple cows, a dog, and a pig. I feel like most of those animals all combined could very easily take out like 8 coyotes.
Maybe, but, like, you know, they...
And also it kind of shows because of the climax. I feel like they would have been pretty easily prepared to take him out.
Yeah, but Otis, you know, because he's traumatized, he just is like, okay, I'm going to abandon the farm. But then he goes back on it because Dag's pack just starts stealing hens during the day, like motherfuckers.
I was actually gonna say, here's my thing. I was actually gonna say, I think the third act feels really rushed.
I feel like the thing is, the plot meanders so much that even a rushed third act feels it more balanced.
Like, I felt really fucking weird because he meets with Dag, he makes the deal with Otis, and then literally 3 minutes later, the coyotes show up and steal the chicks and the chickens.
I mean, that's fair, but it's like I don't know. I guess Act 1 and 2 didn't know what they wanted to be so much that at least I could say Act 3 has a follow through. Like, it feels not coherent. The movie is coherent. That's the tagline you put on the DVD.
I kind of view the movie as, like, just chilling out with these characters for a while. That's just kind of how I view it.
Like, I would be fine if this movie was a movie where, like, we're just hanging out with animals and his dad dies of old age. Like, there's nothing wrong with having a calm movie, but, you know, we're in America. Movies can't be calm. What are we?
It's like I said, my biggest issue with the movie is just it's constantly fighting itself with what movie it wants to be.
It's a very overstimulating movie as well. But yeah, so, you know, Otis fights them. He gets overpowered, but his friends come, and then the pack is driven off, and Otis is like, don't come back again or I'm going to steal your balls. And then, you know, they go back to the farm because Daisy's giving birth.
And then Daisy's giving birth because, oh yeah, we have a pregnant cow. We have to follow up on that.
But to end it, like, every act seems to end on an emotional whiplash. The baby's born. Otis holds the baby. They name it after Ben. He's like, I'm going to protect
They have this beautiful fucking song.
Yeah, I'm going to protect you and the farm. And then he looks up at the sky and the stars start dancing. It's like, what? This is beautiful.
And then Mrs. Beatty. They had to end the movie because the movie's a comedy. They had to end it on a joke. Like, they couldn't end it on a really sweet moment, even though, honestly, that would have been fucking perfect if they ended it on that note.
You want to know one of my favorite things about this movie before we get, because we've described the movie, now we could get to our thoughts, but you want to know one of my favorite things?
What?
There's a review from USA Today about the movie.
Oh boy.
And it's ranked like 2.5 out of 4, which is above halfway. But the the review says,
it's a mostly positive review from what it sounds like.
But the thing is just the review is from Claudia. She says, a sweet and mildly funny movie that will entertain young audiences, but one aspect is utterly mystifying. The two main characters, father and son bovine creatures, have large distracting udders.
I've seen that review.
I want to know, if they didn't, would the movie's rating be higher from Claudia? Claudia, are you still alive? Can you tell me?
Was that the thing that prevented you from giving it 3 out of 4 stars?
Was that the thing? I need to know. But, yeah. So, this was the movie. It's a frustrating movie, just because...
I will say, like I said before, I think it's an okay movie. I think it had potential to... the thing that frustrates me, and I think it's the same thing you have, it had potential to be a really decent movie. Like, at least a 7, maybe 7.5 out of 10.
Yeah.
It had a chance. Like, if it leaned a lot more into the emotional shit, I think it would have been a better movie.
Yeah. Because, it's hard to recommend this movie, because I feel like us as Nickelodeon pilled people kind of get the vibe, even though we're kind of like, oh, this is weird, but it's kind of fitting. But it's just, I wish the parts of the movie I really like, you have to get through so much to get to those really good parts, and it's so confuddling to me, because I would argue that Jimmy Neutron Boy Genius, the other Nickelodeon Oda,
I think that Jimmy Neutron's a great movie.
That movie,
in my opinion,
has the same level, if not more, of emotional moments as this movie, but it's so much more balanced, because that movie's also a comedy.
Jimmy Neutron has better pacing. It has, I think, a more defined world. It knows the tone it's trying to set. And also, I think it's funnier.
I also think the characters are a bit more real, which, I mean, it's one of those things when you have a show, because, you can argue that Boy Genius is kind of a pilot for the show itself.
I mean, a lot of those movies are pilots.
The Jimmy Neutron, pilot movie, the characters act more like actual kids, while when you get to the TV show as they go on, they're cartoons, kinda. And there's that disconnect here, because you can't have these characters act like real animals, or else you wouldn't have the movie. But it's just, I wonder what happened between Boy Genius and here that made the pacing suffer so much. Because, it's just one of those frustrating things where you see that this writer and director has the ability.
I think it's
that's
also
not recognized to its capacity in this movie.
Here's the other thing. Oda Kirk, in my opinion, kind of had a drop in quality as a writer and director around the time this movie came out. Because after this movie, Evan Almighty came out, and Steve, I love you. I love you. You amazing man. You have made some very charming, funny shit. Evan Almighty is one of the worst comedies I've ever seen. It is a terrible movie, and he wrote that. And he was the only writer. So
you have nowhere else to blame.
That's the thing.
But, I do like this movie. I'm just frustrated with how I like it.
That's the thing, because again, I'd give it
in an all-encompassing way, but
I'd give it a solid 6 out of 10. Like
I'll be generous and give it a 7 because I think the moments that are good are really fucking good.
That's the thing. I would give it a 7 if there was more of that, because to me a 6 out of 10 is a 6 out of 10. A six out of 10 is an okay movie to me. Like that's like it's okay.
Catch this
it's
on
not some,
TV, you know?
it's something I'd watch like maybe every couple
I
like
don't know if I
2-3
would have gone to the
years.
theater to watch this.
No, I would not have seen this in theaters. This would have been something where I'm like, I'd watch it every like 2-3 years. Like,
I guess like the follow-up thing to ask, like because of this, what is your opinion on Back at the Barnyard?
much better.
I agree.
But here's my thing with Back at the Barnyard. Back at the Barnyard knows what it's trying to be.
What are you gonna do? Cancel us more?
Yeah. Back at the Barnyard is a fucking insane comedy, and it knows it's an insane comedy, and it rolls with how fucking stupid and weird it is. Like,
This is the size of the image I got off Wikipedia, so we're just gonna live with this.
I actually I haven't sat down and watched a full episode of the show in a very, very long time. So I don't really
Hey, folks,
I've seen bits and
time again.
I've seen bits and pieces of the show, and I've seen bits that were fucking hysterical. I think the episode with Gilbert Gottfried has some of the funniest shit I've ever seen from that show in
I
terms
love
of
how
clips.
unhinged the show is, and I think maybe that's the thing that improves upon the movie, because I feel like
If the movie went more batshit comedy, I also think it might have been a better movie.
well, that's
Like,
the thing. I think the problem with the movie is that I don't know if it knew what direction to commit. This movie has commitment issues. And you can give it to Back at the Barnyard. Yes, it lacks in the emotional moments that Barnyard has and that Barnyard does really well. But I feel like that's where it benefits because you know what you're getting into.
I actually wrote this down when I was writing my notes when watching the movie, and I noticed this even as a kid. But as an adult, I've really noticed something specific. The characters that are missing, like Miles and
Daisy.
Miles and Daisy and the chicks, and I noticed that the characters that are missing are the emotional heart of the movie characters,
Yeah.
which I don't know if that was intentional. Like, because I noticed the chicken, the mule, Daisy, and the chicks are all gone. And they don't explain what the fuck happened to them.
Yeah. And they're like, nope, we're just gonna go insane. Let's have a moment where Otis gets his udder stuck in a milking machine and he's screaming in pain.
There was a TikTok I saw that was one of the funniest things I'd seen in a while, where it was that scene and it had text above it that said, "It's 2035 and the scrotum machine has come for the foreskin tax."
or the episode where they almost had the cow give Beatty brain surgery, or the episode where for some reason Otis had to make out with Beatty. And I think he envisioned her as like a pop star or something to try to, do it.
I remember, I actually thought about this before we did the podcast. I had this thing in my head where now I'm like, shit, maybe this is what it is. I think Back at the Barnyard might be some weird AU, like alternate universe version of Barnyard. Because I'm like,
they never mentioned Ben. They also had a whole episode where it was like, oh, there could be a possibility that Wanda Sykes' cow is actually Otis's mom, which puts a wrench in a lot of things timeline-wise.
Yeah, because they kind of seem to imply they're around the same age.
Also, the unrequited love between Sheen Estevez the rat and Wanda Sykes' cow.
I will admit, I don't know the sexual maturity age of a cow. I don't want to look it up. So
I don't want to know, like,
I don't want to know the age a cow reaches sexual maturity.
I need to, every time I think about the rat and Wanda Sykes' cow, where I'm like, how would they make it work? I think of this joke that's in the new Trolls movie where like one of Branch's brothers is dating like a giant Muppet lady, giant in terms of troll height. And they're like, oh, but we make it work. And then Eric Andre Troll is just like, how?
There's an infamous Ant-Man comic where he shrinks down and goes up Wasp's pussy.
Anyway, Steve Odenkirk, please come on our show. But yes, like the things when Barnyard does things right, they do them really well. But sadly, there's, I would say, just as many misses as there are hits in the movie, which makes it weirdly balanced in how unbalanced it is.
The weird thing, I don't have anything I flat out hated with the movie. I think my biggest issue with the movie is that I just didn't laugh a lot.
Well, yeah, that's what I mean by miss. I mean, I feel like a lot of the jokes, when they didn't hit, when they didn't do the more unhinged jokes that Back at the Barnyard does, for example.
Like, there are jokes that are very...
I feel like it's a lot of swing and a miss.
Yeah, there are jokes that are really funny. Like, I do think there are some really good jokes in here.
Yeah,
The problem is that there's a hit. The problem is that there's
like the mule to the farmer's head.
Yeah, or some of the shit with the fucking cops chasing the cows, or like, or I'm gonna go right in your ear. But like that, it's just one of those things where a lot of the jokes are either just like not funny, or they're just kind of like those nose chuckles, like those kind of laughs.
There is a weird amount of jokes that are more like wordplay or jokes that are kind of, you know, animal related, not things that are meant to be laugh out loud, entertaining, not funny. It's weird to make the distinction, but I mean, like, entertaining isn't like a nose exhale or be like, oh, that's good, but not funny as in I'm going to belly laugh and squirt milk out my nose.
The movie is funniest when it's unhinged. That's which I think the funniest joke in the entire fucking movie, other than Miles repeatedly kicking the farmer, is fucking, dude, I got an arm! like that whole scene is like, what is the fucking bit? What's the fucking bit where he like asks for the change or the tip or something, and he says something like, it's against my religion, I'm like an anti-tipite or something like that. Mm-hmm. And I saw the fucking pizza guys goes, oh, I'm a Lutheran. Like, it's just...
See, like, I feel like it's a Steve staple, if you will, that the more unhinged he allows himself to be in his writing, the infinitely funnier he is. Because I'm pretty sure my favorite episodes, and I know he doesn't write every episode of Jimmy Neutron, I'm making that clear, but he has oversight. The more unhinged episodes of Jimmy Neutron are usually the funniest.
The funniest joke Steve Odenkirk has ever written in his entire life is in the Blair Thumb, and fucking the Great White Scene is one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my entire life.
You know what's one of my favorite jokes from a Steve production?
What?
It's from Jimmy Neutron, the series, and it's from the episode where Hugh gets Jimmy's time remote thing. You know, and it's just when all the people, the angry mob brings Hugh back home, and there's the one woman crying, being like,
oh, the pregnancy thing!
The miracle of birth again and again and again!
I will, the thing that always fucking kills me about... It's weirdly how either unhinged or how mean-spirited the jokes are in Jimmy Neutron that are the funniest jokes.
Oh, I love them. And my only other favorite jokes are when there's like little on-screen character animations, reacting animations, you know, when the characters are doing something. Because there's a part of the Donut Boy scene that kills me every time. And the Donut Boy is already funny. But when it cuts to all the kids just staring at Hugh and Sheen is doing his little dance, like, it fucking kills me.
No, because people would talk about the, "Are you gonna finish that croissant?" People
Croissant.
talk about that. Nobody talks about how uncomfortably animated he is when he eats the croissant.
Or like there's so much that I love. We gotta do a Jimmy Neutron episode because there's so much that we could just be like, this is just an appreciation episode. But yeah, like back at the Barnyard, the original party animals. I think we could put a cow printed bow on it with like, I would say if you want to watch it, find it on a Paramount Plus probably and watch it. It's if you know what you're getting into, you'll have a good enough time. It's a good kid movie. And I would say that there is a good amount, especially with the emotional whiplash, where it will reel older audiences back in.
Like, because I remember looking at critic reviews for this. It is shocking how bad the critic reviews are for this movie.
I have a feeling, and I'm, I feel like especially in the 2000s, and we still have this problem nowadays. But
It
it's
also
less
doesn't
important.
help. It also doesn't help that the movie came out in a really bad year. Was kind of the other
Yeah.
thing. Because 2000, a lot of people, for people in the animation community, I think for the people that don't know, 2006 is kind of unanimously considered one of the worst years for theatrical film animation in the last like 25 years.
Oh yeah, like let me look up
Because it
the
was,
animated movies released in
if you look at
2006.
even the Oscar nominees, none of the films have like higher than 75 on Rotten Tomatoes.
This was the
Like
year of Cars, Brother Bear
Happy
2,
Monster House, Happy Feet, Open Season,
Casper
this.
Scares School.
It's a
Oh
really
wait, there was
bad.
a great movie that came out in 2006. The Curious George movie,
Yeah, which also weirdly didn't have great critic reviews
which
when it
I do
came
not
out.
understand. That movie made me
Not
cry.
terrible. It got decent reviews, but
It
not
was
like
so cute, and it was a very pretty movie, prettier than the Clifford movie. Let me not the recent one with Jack Whitehall. I'm talking
I
about the
forgot that movie existed.
there is a theatrical Clifford the dog movie they released back in the day in the style of the TV show, except everyone has like this weird airbrush shading that looks awful. And Kel Mitchell is one of the dogs.
Well, he
But
was one of the dogs in the show.
I know, but like it's I don't know. It sounds weirder in the theatrical one, and I can't explain why.
Like there were good movies that came out in
Oh yeah, Dougal
2006. Like
also came out in 2006.
Dougal, we need to talk about
We
Dougal
need to do a
at
Dougal
some point.
episode.
Dougal is, you want to talk about a fucking unhinged movie. Not a good unhinged movie, but a very funny unhinged
I
movie.
so okay, I'm scrolling through the list of all the movies that
Because
came out, all
there
the
was
animated
good things.
movies.
Paprika, Girl Who Leapt Through Her Time. There were good
There were
things.
good things, but in terms of American releases, let's be real here.
The
America's
Wild.
mild or interesting potential, but kind of fall in the final stretch of the race, which is my opinion. I love Monster House. Monster House is a flawed movie.
Some of the worst animated films I've ever seen came out that year. Fucking Open Season, Everyone's Hero, The Wild, fucking Over the Hedge.
Oh,
Like,
don't poo poo over the hedge.
I fucking hate Over the Hedge.
But okay, I was just
Like,
laughing because while I was scrolling through stuff, there's one film I've never heard of it, but now I kind of want to watch it because the title made me laugh.
what?
It's a German film called Impy's Island.
Impy's Island.
It's spelled IMPY. Impy.
Impy's. I've seen this fucking poster before. I don't know where, but I know I've seen that poster before.
Alan Smithy is one of the English voices in this. And so
Oh
is Sean
boy, so
Schimmel.
clearly somebody didn't want to be involved. Oh, it has the Dove family approved seal. You know it's good if it has that.
Oh, and Lisa Ortiz, Amy in Sonic X
Oh,
is
it's one of
is
those it's one of
Impy.
those movies where fucking it was a New York cast with, like, maybe one celebrity.
Oh yeah. But yes. Anyways, point being, 2006 was not a great year for American film releases, animated film releases. But like, I feel like, I would not say your time is wasted if you watch the original Party Animals on, uh God, what's the Paramount Plus or something. You wouldn't lose time. And I definitely recommend Back at the Barnyard if you like unhinged craziness. But I feel like one of the reasons that the critics were so hard on this, and I feel like you can say that is still kind of a problem in critiquing animated films, is that a lot of them focus on aesthetic, and this movie is ugly.
Oh, no, as much as I think this is an okay movie, I think the ugliness kinda adds to some of it,
Oh yeah,
in my opinion.
I think that in terms of like fitting for the movie's tone and what it does, I feel like things can be purposely ugly. However, I'm saying that it is a problem with critics that they put, so much. The critics already have a problem with critiquing animation because they already have like this preconceived prejudice against it. It doesn't help when something also looks ugly, whether purposeful or not.
I'm actually looking at oh, here I was looking at the critic consensus. Unimaginative and unfunny, this tale of barnyard mischief borders on utter creepiness and adds little to the summer's repertoire of animated films. So I guess no, it sounds like even the critics thought it looked ugly.
Yeah. So, I think that the ugliness is part of why it looks the way it does, why it is the way it is. I think that I don't think that's a hindrance to the movie. However, I am someone who also thinks like films that objectively have an ugly art style or something. Because when it's the film's style and not just its limitation, I think it works. Like this one meant to look this way. Shark Tale, a movie with an infinitely higher budget, looks
is
worse.
one of the ugliest fucking animated films
Doesn't
ever
even look
made.
rendered sometimes. And, that I don't think was because of a want for it to look that way. Because if you look at the concept art and shit for Shark Tale, the movie looks a lot better on paper than it does when you put it in a fucking computer. So, yeah, I recommend Party Animals and Back at the Barnyard. If you haven't watched it, you probably have Paramount Plus to watch Star Trek or something. Just give it a watch. You wouldn't waste time. I feel like you'll have more fun with Back at the Barnyard, but you'll have a good time and maybe shed a tear or two for Ben the Cow and Biggie Cheese, rest in peace.
Biggie Cheese, rest in peace.
So yeah, those are my final thoughts. What are your final thoughts before we go back into our state of suspended animation?
Again, like I said, I think the movie's okay. I wouldn't recommend it to everyone. I would recommend the cartoon more than I would recommend the film.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I feel like it's a curiosity piece, especially for the time it was made. And it's something where I feel like there's enough there that I think some people could get something out of it. But if you don't like it or you think it's annoying, I definitely could understand
Yeah.
somebody finding it annoying.
Man, it is interesting just how bygone this era is of theatrically released movies are basically pilots for TV shows.
Well, I remember when Wonder Park came out.
The thing that killed this trope.
There was going to be a show, and
It's
apparently
on a shelf somewhere.
It's apparently finished. Like, from what I've looked into, it is finished. Like, it's fully animated and voice acted, and there was even a trailer for it on the Wonder Park DVD, and it's just never been released.
It's in the same cryogenic chamber as Mau Mau Season 2. Like, it's just there. But anyways.
Also, I wanted, actually, before we go, I wanted to talk about a very weird thing I noticed with this movie.
Oh, go right ahead.
There's actually two things. So in the opening scene, when they have all the animals start like, the farmer's gone, and they all start standing up. there's a pig that, and I remember they showed this in the trailer, and it might actually still be in the trailer. They showed this pig who is just like, "Whoa, time to go to work," and he like belly flops into a thing of mud.
Yeah.
That was explicitly supposed to be pig. But when
But
you
that's not
listen to the
that's not the
voice, it
actor.
is not Tino Insana doing the voice.
It is so not Tina. What? It's
But that
probably
is
the model, but it's
definitely the
definitely
same
not. Could they?
model.
Is it like? You know what it's
No,
like?
no, no.
It's like in
I
the.
swear, in the trailer, it is Tino's voice. I swear it is. Because I went back and watched one of the teasers, and I heard the clip, and I'm like, that's definitely Tino doing the voice. So maybe that was originally supposed to be Pig, and they realized there was a continuity error, that it wouldn't make sense that he would be there.
I guess
I don't.
so. I mean, like, it feels like a reverse of the thing that happened with the Muppets from Outer Space trailer, where you can obviously tell there's a scene of Fozzie that is not voiced by Frank Oz.
Oh, the fucking
Wow.
in the fucking Burger King trailer, the Burger King commercial, isn't it? Like they have a clip, and it was like Joey Mazzarino's like fucking audio for Fozzie.
One. The official trailer for Muppets from Outer Space has like, you know, they have a clip of the brick house thing where you know, they open up the shower and Fozzie's in his raincoat and he screams.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
I thought you meant like an actual. I thought you meant like a line where he says.
Well,
something.
there is like one line which is like, whoa. And it's so not Fozzie. It's not.
Yeah, in the Happy Meal, or I forget whatever restaurant had the fucking toys. There is leftover audio of Joey Mazzarino as Fozzie, and it's an actual line, and you can tell it's not Frank Oz. But also, there's one other thing about this movie that I wanted to bring up, and I have never seen anybody talk about it, and in the movie, they also don't mention it. Okay, so you know how they have all the fucking, all the chicks?
Yeah.
Like, all the fucking, chicks. There's this one fucking chick that is this horrifying giant mutant chick, and nobody in the movie mentions it. I'm putting it in the chat. You see it like 3 times. It is the creepiest fucking chick. It's this giant, like,
oh my lord,
chick. No, and they show it like 3 times, and
those are some growth hormones inside of that chicken.
No, but what happens when Otis is like coming back to the barn, when he's like sulking about his dad being dead, he sees the chicks, and he plays with that little chick Maddie, and all the other chicks start like jumping on him and playing with him. That giant chick, you hear it, has the most horrifyingly deep voice that they pitched down clearly, and it's just like like it's like making these horrible sounds, and it's only in the one scene, and I've never seen anybody mention it, and it is so fucking creepy.
I love that.
And I'm trying to even find a clip of it, because it's just so fucking creepy. I need to find the goddamn clip. Oh, where is it? Oh, okay, I found it. I mean, you wouldn't. I don't think you'd be able to play it in the thing. No. But we can do that after. But yeah, no. It's an okay movie. It is a very okay movie. Not one of the best Nickelodeon movies, but I would definitely say not one of the worst.
Yeah, like if we ever did like a tier list of like Nick releases here on Cinema Gremlins, I feel like this would go in the B, maybe the higher C.
We need to do a tier list thing at some point. The problem is how many Nickelodeon movies are there? Are there like 20?
It would go down severely if we did animated, but if we did the full one, my only frame of reference is I know that
Snow Day, Harriet the Spy.
I know Pan Pizza did a 3-part video series talking about every Nick movie.
Yeah.
And I think
and also 20... would we include TV movies is the other thing.
Oh no. We're talking theatrical.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, would we include Abracatastrophe and like things like that?
No, I would say it would be theatrical movies. And I think that would make it like 25 movies, which is approachable. I would love to do that. Oh no. Oh
What?
no.
No. No! No!
He
No!
needs to get bigger. He needs to
No!
consume.
I'm not comfortable with this. I hate looking at it. Oh!
Who wants chicken nuggets?
Nuggies.